Jungkook walked behind Minjae, who was taking wine with himself. Jungkook, Minjae, at least listen. He's getting desperate. Minjae, do you really think I will keep quiet if you do these things with my sister, whom I love more than anything in this world? Minjae turned towards him and hid wine behind himself. Minjae, stay away from my sister. Jungkook's eyes turned cold and he marched towards him with his heavy step. Do you take my feeling as trash? He looked at him coldly. Minje, you came here for some days and you fall for my sister in these days, and you say I will give you my sister. No way. He also said coldly while Jungkook's jaw clenched and he shouted, Jungkook, damn, I love her for 4 years. Minje, whatever. He sat and sat inside his car with Ryan. Jungkook looked at them with his cold eyes. Ayeonem looked at him and they looked at each other, but Minje started the car and they went away, leaving Jungkook alone there when Roy came. Roy, I hope you're okay, he said, but Jungkook's blood boiled more, and when he turned towards him, he punched him so hard that Roy fell and blood came out of his mouth. Jungkook, stay away from Ryan, he said coldly. Roy, why would I? Jungkook came towards him, but before he could punch him, Roy said, I'm her cousin brother. Jungkook stopped and looked at him with his suspicious eyes, and Roy stood up. Roy, we just wanted to make you jealous so that you can confess. Jungkook, why would I believe you? Roy, it's on you, but I'm her brother. Jungkook, you said we wanted you to confess. Who is this we? Roy eyes widened and he coughed. Roy, there is no we. It was just my plan. Jungkook smirked and held him by his shoulder and said, Jungkook, let's have a coffee, bro. Roy awkwardly shook his head while Jungkook nodded and took him inside the restaurant. After 2 days, it's been 2 days, Jungkook didn't contact Minji or anyone. Minji thought he already gave up, while Vine was being a little desperate for him, but don't wanna show it to anybody. A maid came and Vine was sitting with her family. Maid, sir, someone came to meet you. Vine's dad nodded and the maid went away from there. And after some time, a couple came and they all stood up. Vine's dad comes to them. Dad, Mr. John, you here? Minji stood up and went to him. Minji, uncle, you here suddenly? He smiled and Mr. John hugged him. Mr. John, why can't I come to meet my son? Minji, you were with us, but you forgot us coming here, hmm? Everyone laughed because they know he was pulling his leg. Minji smiled. Minji, I didn't forget you, uncle. Come and have a seat. They all sat and Vine also greeted them. Mrs. John, actually we came here for a purpose. Mom, what purpose, Mrs. John? Mrs. John smiled and looked towards Vine, while Vine was looking down in her own world. Mrs. John, Vine, she looked at her. You know me? Vine shook her head, and Mrs. John stood up and went to her and sat beside her. Mrs. John, you know Jungkook? She nodded. I'm his mother, and he is his father. Vine's eyes widened slightly. Vine, I'm sorry, I didn't know. Mrs. John chuckled. Mrs. John, it's okay, sweetheart. By the way, we are here to talk about a proposal. Mr. John, wait, let Jungkook come. They all nodded while Vine was still confused, while Minje already got what was going to happen. After waiting for some time, the front door got opened and Jungkook came inside with his perfect looks. Jungkook, sorry for being late, guys, he said while everyone chuckled except Minje and Vine. He sat beside his father, Mr. John. See, we come here with the proposal of marriage, Vine and Jungkook's marriage. But there is no rush, he smiled. Vine's eyes widened while Minji stood up, but Jungkook also stood up and went to him and stood by his side. Jungkook, drop the act, bro. I already know everything. By the way, you should get a scar for your acting, he whispered while Minji looked at him and also said in his whispered voice, Minji, so what? I know I'm great at everything I do, and it's also needed because you were not confessing, and I already know from 3 years that you like my sister. Jungkook looked at Minje with his raised eyebrows while Minje smirked and said, Minje, I know you stole Vine's picture from my phone. Jungkook smirked and said with a teasing tone, Jungkook, it's great now. I don't have to steal my future's wife pictures. But Minje's face fell. Minje, I'm not sure if she gonna agree to this marriage. Jungkook looked towards Vine and smiled. Jungkook, don't worry, she just need time and I'm willing to give her. I'm ready to wait for her till my last breath. Minjae smiled towards Jungkook, who is looking at Vine like his life depend on her. Minjae, in mind, I already know that you are best for her. He smiled. Dad, Mr. Jun, I appreciate your proposal, but I won't be against my Vine's will. If she want to marry, then it's a yes. Then if not, I'm sorry. Her happiness is my everything. Vine's eyes become a little teary because the way he didn't even ask her. Mr. Jun, I don't have a daughter, and of course, I don't want to force her or anything. I came here with a proposal, not to force her. Just because Jungkook told her that he loved her and I want to marry her, so we came. He smiled and also went to Onam and sat beside her. Mr. John and Mrs. John. Mr. John held her hand and said softly, Mr. John, fine, I'm not forcing you. Please don't think like that, okay? If it's a yes, then it's fine, and if it's not, then it's also fine. Hmm? Vine looked at him and nodded, and they both smiled. Vine, actually, all the eyes on her. I need some time. I need to think. They all smiled and nodded while her dad stood up and took her with himself in a corner. Dad, sweetheart, if you don't want to marry him, then it's okay. Hmm? I will reject the proposal. Just say. Fine, Dad, it's not like that. I like him, but I'm scared of him. He smiled, Dad, because he's a mafia. Dad, then what it is, sweetheart? Fine, it's just he's a mafia and there will always be risk for his life. And if something happened to him after our marriage, I won't be able to handle. You know, I can't handle blood or anything. I'm weak and fine. He needs someone strong who can handle those things and not me who won't be able to dress his wounds. Her eyes become a little teary and her father cupped her cheeks and sighed softly like he's teaching something to a little girl. But yeah, she's little baby for him. He's a father. Dad, baby, listen to me carefully. Hmm? He loves you from the last 4 years now, and it's impossible that he don't know that you are soft-hearted, baby. Hmm? If he still chooses you, then it's his choice. He loves you. He needs you, and you know, you say he need a strong one, but you don't know that when a man loves a woman, he doesn't need anyone because that woman becomes his everything, his strength, his weakness, his love, his everything, and he choose you. That mean he need you, not a strong woman who say you are not strong. He smiled and creased her head. Then you will get to know that if you are strong or not, because if your love will be strong, then you won't be mind anything. Van looked at him and nodded, and he kissed her forehead in a fatherly manner. So should I take it as a yes? Fine, but I don't want to rush. It's a yes, but I need time for us, for me and Jungkook. I need to know him more. Then we will marry. Her dad chuckled and nodded. Dad, as you said, darling, but you know what? I thought when you said that. Dad, you're scared of him. I looked at him to know the answer. I thought you are scared because he's a mafia and will harm you or hurt you. But my little baby was scared of something else for him. Hmm? He teased her and she whined. Now let's go. They are waiting. They both went to them and Jungkook looked at Vine and come towards her. Jungkook, why did you cry? If you don't want this marriage, then Dan. It's a yes from her, but she wants to know him more, so she need time for marriage and don't want thing to rush. Jungkook, fine. Is it true? He held her hand and asked that. She nodded, making him smile like a madman. Thank you so much, and we will know each other, okay? She nodded. Mr. Jung, let's celebrate. Everyone cheered happily. Next day at party, all the family members are enjoying each other's company while Vine and Jungkook sitting in front of each other. Vine was silent while Jungkook is desperate to talk to her, so he took the initiate. Jungkook, Vine, would you like to eat something? She smiled and Vine shook her head. At least something, snacks, drinks. Vine, no, I don't want anything. She smiled softly. Jungkook, I know I should not ask, but I wanna know. Vine looked at him. Vine, what? Jungkook, you agreed to this marriage by your will, right? I mean, there was no force, right? Vine smiled, seeing his nervous face. Vine, of course not. As I already said, I like you. They both looked at each other and there was a silence, but that silence means a lot to them. There are spoken word hanging in the air, but the way they are looking at each other is everything. Host, it's becoming boring, so all the couple come and dance. Everyone cheered and Jungkook looked at Payan and asked softly, Jungkook, can we dance my soon to be wife? Maya nodded and he took her hand and guided her to the stage and they started dancing softly with the rhythm of the music. Jungkook was dancing with Vine. Suddenly he observed a man in all black going somewhere. He frowned, Jungkook in mind. But no one from the underworld is invited here. Only relatives and business partners were invited. Suddenly, all the power got off. Everyone gasped while Jungkook held Vine tightly, but suddenly he felt a strong pain in his head and he stumbled and fell her out of his grip. Jungkook, Dad, back up. Her, he called for his man, back up. But before anyone could do anything, all the lights turned on and Jungkook looked for Vine, but he heard a word that he hated the most. Someone, I think you are looking for this lady. Is she yours? Jungkook turned and saw the man smirked while holding a knife on Vine's neck. Jungkook, Won, leave her. She had nothing to do with us. Mr. John, Won, if a single scratch come on her neck, then I will cut your neck by my own hand. They both looked dangerous while Minje's and Vine's dad looked at each other. Then at Mr. John and Jungkook, then they all four started walking towards Wan. Wan, I think you don't love this beautiful lady. He smirked and was about to grip her neck tighter, but before he could do anything, Mr. John threw a knife at his hand, trained an old mafia, so obvious he is perfect, so perfect goal. And the knife fell from Wan's hand, and Jungkook pulled Vine in a swift movement and hid behind himself. Jungkook, do you really think we are king for no reason? He smirked. One is just an old enemy of Jungkook, just jealous because he wasn't chosen as king but Jungkook, and he started hating him. But the underworld didn't make the Jungkook king just by his looks. He has the king aura, that's why he is Mafia King and son of the Mafia King. Before JK, Mr. Chan was king. One, and I'm not fool to attack a king alone. He smirked and soon army of men surrounded the place. Let's start the real fight. Call your backup, you need it. Mr. Chun, yes, Jungkook, call the backup because our well may take all these. Mr. John, out of here after we are done beating them. Jungkook and Mr. John looked at each other and nodded. Jungkook looked at her mother and she took Wine with himself and stood at a little distance. Wine, aunt, what are they doing? Her face fell. Mrs. John, nothing, baby. They are just going to beat all of them without their mans. Wine gasped. Wine, what if something happened to them? Mrs. John, just watch, baby, and you will understand. She smiled. And man looked at them when suddenly a man came towards Mr. John, but Mr. John beat him brutally. Jungkook also started, and they both alone beat more than 20 men. Minji, you got a brilliant husband, little bunny. Vine flinched when her brother whispered in her ear out of blue. Vine, yeah, Oppa, go and help them. Minji laughed. Minji, do you think they need help? Vine, just admit you don't know how to fight. Minji gasped.